in some cases, certain things were supposed to have progressed by now, but due to free will and circumstances, there have been delays, and as a result, there has been some extra difficulty in the connections, and so that has provided an opportunity to heal some more wounds and to do some more inner work. But it's a harder path. It's like choosing the hard way. Welcome back to Tarot.by.thea. This is a podcast where we deep dive into the current astrological and collective energies. My name is Thea Stone, and I am a tarot reader and intuitive counselor. And today we're going to do a twin flame Valentine's Day special. Now, I had hoped that my sister Bex was going to join me today, but unfortunately she's not so well this week. So the hope is she'll join us on the next episode. But today what I'm going to do is slightly different to what we normally do. So I'm still going to do a 10-card spread, and I'm going to do it with the Lover's Path deck that I have here. But I have a few oracle decks, one of them being the Twin Flame Ascension. And there is actually an 11-card spread in here, and I thought that since I was going to pull 10 cards and then one card from the Twin Flame, which makes 11, I thought that I would give an extra level of meaning to each card based on what each placement in this 11-card spread means. So I will do the reading as normal, but also have an additional interpretation based on the spread. So I thought that would give us a little bit of a twist. I don't know the Oracle deck well enough that I could pull 11 cards from them and not keep referring to the book. So I thought that might be a little cumbersome. But I thought we'll do the 10 cards from tarot as normal and sort of do a sort of hybrid version of this spread. So yeah, I'm excited to get going, and yeah, let's just dive straight into it. So there's been some interesting energies in the Twin Flame Collective, and what I just want to do is I just want to see what kind of message the Twin Flame Collective or a particular subset of that collective need to hear right now. I think it's some interesting time in some of the dynamics. Leo just confirmed that. Yep. And he's been a bit vocal, so he might show off in this reading. So yeah, I just want to leave it open to spirit to see what the collective needs to know most right now, because maybe it will turn out to be a sort of forecast for the year, maybe it will be a sort of snapshot of where we are now, or some other message. But I just want to see what spirit wants to say on this, since we can go into a deeper dive in this reading. So I'm just going to tune in now and just see what happens. Spirit may choose to pick the cards, or I may have to shuffle to a particular point and we'll go from there. So yeah, so let's just tune in for a second. So Spirit, what do you want to tell the Twin Flame Collective right now as part of this Valentine's Day special? Okay, one just slipped out. And we have the King of Cups in reverse, and I'm feeling like it should stay in reverse. I don't often do reversals, but every now and then sometimes it just feels aligned. And I have a feeling that that's important. Now, so in this, so we have this 11 card spread here, and each position holds a meaning. And in the first position, step 1 is surrender. What shadows do we need to release? So I'm feeling this is about suppressing love, or denying the love, or having fears around love, and maybe even expressing love. So this could be, I feel this is maybe a little more towards the divine masculines. Maybe there's a lot of energies right now in terms of having issues around this, and it's like we're being asked to surrender into love, where there's been fears of commitment, where there's been fears about how deep this connection is, or the unknown around this connection. Perhaps it's very different to the kind of connections you've had in the past, and so it's unfamiliar, and so there is uncertainty around that. Perhaps there's also been issues around self-worth and self-love in terms of feeling deserving of these connections, and so there is a need to surrender into this twin flame process, this divine union. And so wherever there's been resistance, this is where the work needs to be. So yeah, so I'm feeling like that's it for now on that card. So let's just see what comes next. Okay, that's too many. Too many. Although whenever I get a big chunk of cards coming out, I always read that as a big shift. Like something is changing, like a lot of things are either like getting unstuck or moving in different directions. So so big energy involved right now. It's like the cards have a lot to say. Okay, split the deck. I'm not surprised to see this card at all. Transformation. So yeah, so this is the death card. So this is death and rebirth. Major shifts going on in the collective. I was already picking up on this, happening for a little while. And so there's this opportunity to grow right now, to leave behind limiting behaviors that have been blocking union. Leah seems very much agreeing with this right now. Also, the growth that's necessary in the sort of preparation for union, the separation phase. It's like that is, yeah, so I'm getting, it's taking a new dynamic, like there's been some shifts, and so maybe some things have had to change that were not originally part of the plan, or were not part of a timeline you had been on, and now there's a shift, and now there's some more things that need to change. Yeah, I'm getting timeline shifts coming through. So there has been some need for some additional work is what I'm getting. And yeah, so I got called to look down, and so we have the Three of Arrows. I think I'm actually going to add this to the reading. So I feel that this one wanted to speak. I think there has been some heartbreak, and I think this is two ways. This is facing the heartbreak of the past. So this is the releasing of the fears, right, of the King of Cups in reverse. But this is also about heartbreak over how things have gone in the separation phase. So I'm feeling like divine feminines in particular, maybe the weight has been particularly difficult, and now there is starting to become some wounding around it. Perhaps it's bringing up old childhood wounds that need to be addressed as part of this transformation. So so it's actually there is, yeah, so I'm hearing some grief that's coming through, and I think that's why we've had some timeline shifts, because there, in some cases, certain things were supposed to have progressed by now, but due to free will and circumstances, there have been delays, and as a result, there has been some extra difficulty in the connections, and so that has provided an opportunity to heal some more wounds and to do some more inner work. But it's a harder path. It's like choosing the hard way in a lot of ways. So I don't feel the need to add this to the reading, but just as a side note, we also have the Ten of Arrows, which is the Ten of Swords in the traditional tarot, and that's about surrender and letting go, which is what we were getting with this card here. So I just realized that I didn't go through the extra meanings for the second and third card, so let's do that. So step 2, which was the death card or transformation here, spiritual awakening. What action steps are required to change your situation? So this is about deep inner reflection. This is about, okay, I'm hearing going with the flow of the things that need to be uprooted is what I'm hearing, that so that they can be released as part of this surrender. And also it's like the actual act of letting go of certain behaviors and mindsets is actually part of the awakening, or the awakening will assist in this process. I think it's a two sides of the same coin, it's like it'll be this continuous cycle if you let it, as long as you're not resisting. And so there is a great opportunity, even though this is hard, for deep spiritual awakening right now, which is going to assist not just the individuals but the union as well, because union is about spiritual awakening through divine union. So it's it's a necessary part of the process. But what I'm getting is that this is something that could have happened whilst in union, or whilst you were closer than you are now. So it's having to happen in some cases. It's having to happen on an individual level, as opposed to together, or more together in the process of coming closer. And so it's a little harder to do, but it's the necessary step for some in the Twin Flame Collective right now. Okay, so we're getting here with the heartbreak card. We're getting racial frequency. What hidden truths should be brought to your awareness to enable a higher perspective? So I think that this may actually have something to do with, maybe there's been some denial of grief and heartbreak around how things have progressed, and maybe there has been a pattern of allowing it, allowing certain behaviors that have actually been hurtful to sort of continue without voicing the problem, or there being any kind of sort of consequence for it. So there's this feeling of the thing that needs to be looked at is, where are you sort of giving away your power because you want the union so much that you're willing to put up with this heartbreak, you're willing to put up with behaviors that are really actually hurting you, and pretend that things are okay when they're not. So and so right now there's a need to face that discomfort, and the fact that your heart has been calling for something that has actually been hurt in the process, and perhaps you've tried to sort of excuse it away, that behavior, because you've wanted the union so much that you were afraid that if you voiced it, that you would actually delay the union. So there is a need to face this pain of how things have progressed so far. This is sort of additional on top of the fact that obviously when you're in separation, you long for one another, you miss one another, but this is about how things have actually progressed between you up until this point, and where there have been decisions and maybe conversations or experiences that have left you disappointed, or where you deserved better in that situation. And so there has been a lack of maybe reciprocation or something like that. And so there has been this disconnect and this imbalance that's been going on. And so there's a need to actually honor that, honor what your heart's feeling, even if your mind is thinking, well, if I do this, maybe he'll run more, or whatever the case may be. The heart feels what the heart feels, and it's not convenient, it's not logical, but the heart needs to be honored right now. So if you are in grieving, if you are disappointed, if you are sad, these things need to actually be addressed so that they can be released, so that you can raise your vibration. Because what's being asked of many is that there would usually be one in the connection, often the divine feminine, but not always, who will actually be ahead spiritually. And so your job is not to fall into the grief and lower your vibration. Your job is actually to process it, when it honestly arrives, but to keep and hold your vibration higher to encourage the other counterpart to rise. And so this is a reminder that although sometimes the shadow work is necessary, to not dwell in it and not get caught in it, so that you end up dropping down generally in your frequency, because that's not going to serve the connection. Because you have to be the way shower, and if the way shower is not able to shine the light in the way forward, then both of you can get stuck. So that's a reminder here that's coming forward. So, okay. So I'm going to take the next card and see what happens. So, Spirit, so what else do we need to know about this reading? Okay, one just slipped out. That was really quick. Okay, so again, we have reversed, which is interesting. We have magic. So this is the Magician in reverse. Okay, so let's see what position this was for. Transformation. What perceptions need to change? Okay. What perceptions need to change? Okay, so I'm getting this feeling of lack. I'm getting this feeling of, because quite often the Magician is about manifestation, and with it being in reverse, it's almost like there's a block to manifesting. So I'm getting this feeling of maybe one or both of you have issues around truly believing that you could actually manifest this into your life, that you are maybe deserving of a connection like this. And so I'm feeling like this is a place where, particularly if you're having separation right now, where you could work on, because it's sometimes it can be hard enough to believe that you could have this kind of destined love, but when you're also receiving the kind of feedback, where there's disconnect, where there's lack of communication, where there's maybe running or ghosting, where there's no contact, where there's maybe hurtful behaviors or actions or things like that. So it could be that the outside is mirroring and could give you a very certain picture of, could maybe reinforce this sense inside of you that, oh, these kind of things don't happen to me. And so we have to actually, even in the darkest of times and the most difficult times of these connections, cultivate the belief that this is possible. Because okay, so we're going back to timelines now, because I think there's a lot of timeline flux right now. It's like a lot more options have opened up because certain conditions weren't met, and so it's almost like it's kind of changed things up, and so there's now a lot more possibilities to kind of sift through in terms of finding and navigating through. So it's like right now it's actually even more important to invest your belief and your energy that this can happen, and that you are destined for great love. And so we're being invited to work on that perception and that attitude, that outlook, so that we can still invite in this union, even if it's going to happen in a different way now going forward than maybe it was looking like, just a few months ago, say. So, because timelines shift all the time, and possibilities open and close all the time, but it feels like there was a major, like there was a path that was very possible, perhaps a more ideal path that the souls are working towards, and then something has shifted, so that's either not possible or the possibility is way reduced now, and so other options are opening up, and it's still in flux in terms of, like, it's not clear which path is going to become the most likely path. So our belief and our manifestation and our intentions and our visualizations are really important right now in terms of navigating through this much bigger maze that we find now in the timelines. So is there anything more on that? Okay, so something about personal power coming through, like disempowerment, and I'm feeling like there is a need. Okay, so what I'm getting is that sometimes one counterpart can feel like the other counterpart holds the key, holds the move. Like they're the ones that need to do something to unlock like the next step or the next level. And so the one that doesn't have the key, in a sense, who's waiting for the other to show up, can feel disempowered and can feel like, well, I don't know where my life is going because I'm waiting on them to make a decision. And so there is a disempowerment there. And so what we're being invited to consider is the fact that actually that's not the case. Actually, you do have free will still in this situation. You still can have boundaries in this situation. You still can decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. And you still have a path forward, even though you're in separation. And what I'm getting is a glow up. So I think there is a possibility now for many who are in that position, who are waiting on their counterpart because there is a delay on their end. That you actually have an opportunity now for a glow up in your personal life, in your soul mission, in terms of your work, what you're doing here. You don't have to wait on your counterpart to do the work. There is some work that would be best suited for the two of you together, but the universe is always going to go, okay, so we have a vacuum here. This is the best way to like use this time, use this energy. You're going to be provided with opportunities that are going to sort of occupy your time and your energy in the meantime, that maybe weren't there because you were going to go down this other path most likely, but now other paths are opening up. And so that because there is this vacuum, there is this possibility actually for opportunity for you. And so it's actually a time for you to realize that you're not sort of like beholden to the free will of the other person. You have your own life, you have your own path, and the divine is going to guide you onto your highest timeline. You don't have to wait around, waiting for the phone to call. You've got things you can be getting on with, and actually in doing that sort of on your own, it's actually going to maybe give you more encouragement, more um you may feel more empowered and may feel more strong in yourself because you're actually facing things that maybe ideally would have been better suited in a closer connection to your counterpart, but now you're doing it on your own. You're realizing your own power. You're realizing what you can do on your own, and you don't have to have your counterpart there. And so it's almost like reducing the codependency in that sense, if you want to think of it that way. But it's an opportunity now for you to actually really focus on yourself, being that sort of star energy. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that card, but I'm feeling that energy anyway. But certainly with the magician, there is this sense of, because I'm just noticing if I just turn it the right way around, you have these counterparts here in the magic, but it's the magic can unfold with just the one of you and the divine working together. So this is an opportunity for you to deepen your connection to the divine and for you to work together, because divine union is ultimately you, your counterpart, and the divine. And so, okay, your counterpart may be taking a detour right now, but you and the divine can still get to work. You and divine can have that union still. So there is a lot that can be done. And because these possibilities are opening up, there is a lot of chance for opportunity. And it could be that your counterpart, in seeing you having these opportunities, is seeing you daring to step into them and sort of claiming your power and all of these things, that it may draw them in even more. But you shouldn't do it for that reason. You should do it because you're called to do it and it feels aligned for you and it's helping you heal and all of these things. That should be the motivation. But it could be a natural side effect that it actually encourages your counterpart to come back to you in some way, or to at least kindle the desire for that, even if they're not quite ready. So wow, that's quite a powerful read. So let's go to the final card on this row then, and then let's see what else we need to know about this twin flame collective reading. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So this card was actually on the root of the deck when I took it out to smudge it. And I was called to shuffle again whilst I was smudging, and then I got the tower. But I'm not surprised that this card has decided to show up again. This is a spiritual test. It's like it's supposed to be overwhelming, particularly for any counterparts who are in resistance, who are denying the connection or afraid of love, afraid of opening up, who are running away from it. Right now, they are being. It's like judgment. It's been called. So it's like the pressure is now on in order to actually try to get them unstuck. And so it could be that there is a lot of difficulty that's coming to sort of like get them to the point where it's like okay, so what I'm getting is that some of these, particularly some masculines, are feeling like they need to deal with the chaos first before they feel ready to bring in a feminine, not realizing that if they actually were to open up to their feminine, that a lot of this stuff will start resolving or become less because it's like it's not needed. This is the pressure to try and get them unstuck so that they're moving towards their counterpart. But sometimes it's like when the test or the push isn't strong enough, isn't taking them to their breaking point, they can feel like, okay, my life is too messy right now. I can't really afford, or I don't want to bring this mess to the doorstep of my counterpart, things like that. And so as a result, they step back even further. But actually, what Spirit is trying to do to them is trying to get them to a point where they can't resist anymore, where they have to reach out. And as a result, they start to realize as things unfold that the pressure that was there was actually there to take them closer to their counterpart and not further away. But when there's issues around self-worth, when there's issues around not feeling good enough, feeling like you need to have a lot to offer before you come forward, as a way of making up for how they feel about themselves, and feeling like there's this big disconnect, and why would this person want me, and all of those kind of things. When that energy is around and that the outlook's around, you can easily get stuck in the trap of feeling like um, um, all of this chaos that's around me needs to resolve first, not realizing that the chaos is precisely there because they haven't reached out. Now, there are some situations where it's like certain things did have to happen and line up first. There's a divine timing for it. But now I'm feeling like we've reached a point, particularly with this timeline shift, that actually it's like, okay, you haven't gotten the message so far, so we're turning up the heat. Because it's necessary, perhaps because there's certain timings involved. Like we need you to get unstuck by a certain time, ideally, because that way you can make this timeline work, and that's ideal for these reasons. Of course, free will's involved in all of this, but the pressure is now on for those who are resisting and those who are resisting looking at certain outlooks and behaviors and wounding in themselves. So it's for whatever it is still sort of like needing to be looked at on either counterpart. The pressure is on now to actually heal it, look at it, release it, whatever the case may be. So let's have a look now at what step that was in this spread. So this was step 5, breakthrough. Where do you need to focus to keep moving forward? Yeah, okay. So I see that one, you could see this as the spiritual test. But 2, it's also looking at the hardships as what is this trying to teach me? what opportunities do I have to grow in it? Um, and what am I resisting that's actually contributing to whatever chaos, drama, difficulties are in my life right now? From a spiritual perspective, you don't necessarily connect the dots in terms of the physical 3D way of looking at things, but if you look at it from a higher perspective of, okay, well, why would I need this to happen to me? What is it trying to sort of lead me to? And if you can look at it from that higher perspective, then it may help point in the direction of what it is that you actually need to work on, what it is you actually need to do. And so this is also about closing out cycles. And both in my in bulk reading and I believe the last podcast I did, we talked about that we were in a period of time where we were doing the final like tying off of loose ends. I believe that's happening between now and the end of the astrological year. So sort of this time and Pisces season, which is typically about endings and karma and cycles closing. And we are in a 9-year, which is about completion. So this is a huge period of deep completions, cycles coming to an end, karma being served, tying up loose ends. So this is why we are in this pressure point now, because it's like anything that needs to be addressed that hasn't been, it's like spirit is just going to throw everything at you until you look at it, until you deal with it. And it's just going to keep getting harder. So, and then I'm hearing there's consequences. The consequences get bigger. And actually karma is being accrued. So it's almost like that which you do not look at, that which you resist now. It's like there's going to be more that you have to make up for later because of it. It's like there was a window where there was a grace period where, and I think it was while we were in the relationship nodal axis, where these things could come up and karma wasn't being accrued, it was being released and all of that. But now that we're out of it, I'm feeling like it's like we were maybe giving a test at the beginning of the year, but if things are still not progressing, now it's like there's more to make up for, because that's why we've had this timeline shift, because things have had to change in order to work around certain free will decisions where resistance has prevailed. So yeah, there's this is what needs to be looked at. So we're going to clarify this King of Cups in reverse. So what more do you want us to know about the King of Cups in reverse? Okay, that one kind of slid and almost fell out, and then it just felt like right. 6 of Arrows, okay. So this is about coming out of troubled water. This is about okay, I'm getting communication as well. So there's been some resistance around communication, communicating feelings, expressing love. But it's like there's reached a turning point. I think this pressure that we've been seeing with the Ten of Wands is starting to kick in. And so it's like getting to a point of no return is what I'm hearing as well, like to a point where they just can't hold back anymore. And so I'm hearing that communication is being planned. It may not necessarily be acted on for everybody. It's going to depend on the courage levels, whether they can act on it at this time. But it's like they're figuring out what they want to say. And although they've had conversations in their heads before, it's like they're figuring out what they want to say with the intention of saying it, rather than wondering whether they could actually work up the nerve. So it's like it's coming with a sort of resignation of knowing that this needs to happen. And so it's impacting what they want to say as well, because they know that they want to get this right. They want to, they don't want to fumble it. it's like, again, because there's this need to make up for things, and so it may even include an apology, I'm hearing as well, and maybe an explanation of what's been going on. But this is a six of swords, so it's like there's 60% there to being considering doing that. But it's like the tide's turned in the favor of actually communicating. Like they can't handle the separation, which may have been initiated by them, or maybe you have had to pull back their energy, or the other way around, depending on how this situation is. And so it's like small movements forward towards you. So I'm feeling like there's something else there. Yeah, so I got the technology thing. So I'm feeling like social media is important. Like they're spying on you, trying to gauge how you are to see if you're approachable. Is what I'm getting, because they want to make sure they pick the right moment. So they're a little tentative about coming forward, and also about taking the reins, because in the traditional tarot, you have the masculine who's actually like punting the boat across the water, and the feminine is just sitting back, almost like having a rest. Like almost, she looks a little weary, and so yeah, it's like there is a knowing that they need to take the lead, for those who have been resisting, and they're not quite at the point where they can do it, but they're it's like, again, they're resigning themselves to the fact that this is what needs to happen, and it's like it's settling in. It hasn't fully landed to the point where they're like, okay, I'm doing this, but it's like they know that this is what's being required of them, and they're starting to avoid. It's like the denial is starting to move aside, in terms of the complacency I'm getting is like starting to be pushed aside, and replaced with the knowing that this is on their end. And as much as they may wish for you, or the counterpart that's waiting to actually make the move so they don't have to do this, they're starting to realize that that's not what's happening here. That's actually on them. And so they're having to do the preparation to actually get themselves there, so they're ready to do that. But it does mean that things are going to start to progress towards getting easier. But I feel that it has to happen within them first, before you're even going to even see any signs of it. And it may be that until they're ready, they may even pull back more, because they don't want to. It's almost like they don't want to necessarily connect until they're ready to have that conversation, and they're worried that if there's communication flowing, that they may get forced into it before they're ready. So there may be some of that going on as well. But it's like moving in the right direction. And also, I'm being called to look at the water. So this is about emotional expression, particularly with that King of Cups reversed. But I think there's some resistance, because they know that there is a need to apologize, to take accountability for what they've done, and as a result, it's a bit of an ego bruise. It's a bit difficult to admit, and also there's some shame around that. So they have to face that with themselves first, before they can sort of take accountability and actually show up and say that. So they have to get ready to be able to face it by looking at it within themselves first, and being able to sort of just it's like accepting themselves, loving themselves enough to know that, okay, this is where I was at. That was the best I could do at the time. Or it is what I did, and there's no running away from it, whatever the case may be. So there is a need to face that within themselves first. So But this was in the 6th position. So this is integration. What information do you need to process more thoroughly to gain greater clarity? So I think we've just talked about that. So this is about accepting what's required of them, accepting what they've done in the past that has caused the situation at hand, and accepting their role in terms of how they got, how this needs to move forward. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear. All right, so let's go for clarifying the transformation death card. So what else do we need to know about that card? Okay, so we get 2 of coins. Okay, so this is about a decision that needed to be made. This was about two ways they could approach this situation. Maybe the situation involved another person, but I think it's more about, do they choose to move forward with you and take the plunge with you, or do they not, regardless of what the circumstances are? Do they dare to be the one that takes the leap, takes the risk first? Particularly because I feel with this 3 of arrows next to transformation, that there's a fear of rejection, there's a fear of you abandoning the connection, and so there's also probably a fear that you're already walking away, and so so I'm getting this feeling with particularly this. I'm hearing a rock in a hard place, so it's like they can't stay stuck, and yet there's a lot of fear around moving forward. So it's a tough place to be in. One of their own making, I'm hearing spirit say. It could have been easier than this, I'm hearing as well. But because the fear was winning out and the wounding was winning out, it's resulted in it going in this direction. So there is a choice to be made, and one is, are you going to choose love or are you not? Are you going to take this King of Cups and turn it into the upright position? And that's the choice. And so it's like so yeah, I don't feel there's much more to say about that, but in making this decision, not staying stuck in this limbo between the two, that's actually going to be part of the transformation. And the transformation, the changes that are going on, are also going to put pressure on to make the decision. So again, this is this feedback loop, right? So yeah. So let's see what that 2 of Pentacles or 2 of Coins, what position that was in. That was number 7. So that was Rebirth. Look deeper within. What do you still need to release to rise above your situation? Rising above the limbo and the inaction. So, which is coming from fear of rejection, fear of maybe also the growth that you would have to do with that transformation card in order to step up and be and take on the role that you would need to take on as divine masculine in this connection. So it's like, are you going to show up or not? And so this is the work that needs to be done in this connection. Right, so now let's clarify the 3 of arrows. Ooh, there was a big shift there, and it wanted to come out. I just caught it. Something big. Okay, here we go. 10 of coins. Wow. Okay. So yeah, this is also pertaining to the heartbreak from particularly divine feminines wanting this 10 of coins, this commitment. So this is like there's 2 ways I'm getting that this can be read. So this is about maybe for those in the connection, perhaps more the masculines, but for those in the connections who are afraid of commitment and dealing with that issue. But also I think it's for those who have been waiting and wanting to move forward, it's the heartbreak over the fact that it's like this is being brought into question. It's like, are we going to reach that? Are we going to reach the 10 of Pentacles? Are we going to get to the point where we we are fully invested in this and committed to this, because that's been brought into question with the timeline shifts and the way things are going now. And so there's been grief over the fact that there was this really deep connection that is now in jeopardy, and wondering whether it's actually going to come into fruition. So it's on two different ways you can read this. But yeah, so I'm curious what this step was. This was step 8. How to read this. Step 8 is one with self. What do you need to work on to bring balance within? Okay, interesting. Okay, so what I'm getting in that case is bringing the Ten of Pentacles into your own life. So you know how I was talking about how the feminines, or those who have been waiting, they're getting a chance for a glow up. They're getting a chance for opportunity. So it's being able to welcome this in, even though you may be upset about the situation, may even be deeply hurt about the situation, but to alchemize that and perhaps even use it to bring this, to fuel this glow up that's on your doorstep, these opportunities that are coming. If you're creative, maybe using the pain to create something, right? So there's great opportunity like on your doorstep, because the I think if we're taking this as the divine feminines, the concern that spirit has is that you have this opportunity, this window of opportunity that has now been created. It wasn't there before necessarily, but it's been created for you, and you could use that time to grieve, and to the point where you get sucked into despair, or you can use this time to grow and to thrive and to shine and to create something for yourself, something that you can invite your counterpart into later. But regardless of what they do, you're doing this for you. So it's like you're giving yourself the Ten of Pentacles by working with the divine and the situation at hand. And so the choice is, if we look at this from the feminine point of view, the choice is, do you fall into grief, or do you love yourself enough to give yourself this opportunity and this glow up? So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be said there. No, that feels right. So again, it's like a decision, a turning point, because I'm hearing that all is not lost just because things have gone in this direction. It's just that things have shifted and things aren't necessarily going to go the way you envisioned them, but that doesn't mean that there isn't great opportunity here, and it could even work out better in the long run, depending on how things go. But it's like there's always going to be something that comes in when something is lost. So this is what you're being reminded of. So yeah. All right, so what's coming next? How do we clarify this magic card in reverse? Oh, we've got 2 cards. Okay. So I guess we'll round out the reading. So the first one we have the High Priestess in reverse, going with magic in reverse. Wow. Okay. So I'm being reminded of the meaning of the High Priestess the right way around. It could be about secrets and intuition and knowing. So it's like the unknown, it has the opportunity to be revealed. So so in this, if we take this, this was the opportunity to look at places where you felt disempowered, right? And so now in addressing that and looking at what it is that you need to work on, and actually giving yourself this Ten of Pentacles, this opportunity to claim your power back. It's like it's going to reveal something to you about yourself, and maybe even your connection to the divine, because it's giving you this opportunity to actually understand your magic, understand how powerful you are, and that although that can be amplified by your counterpart and supported by your counterpart, the ultimate support is with the divine. And so it's almost like the divine doesn't want to be silenced in your life anymore. It wants to really show you its love and support for you now, because particularly if you're in a situation where a contract was broken, like a soul contract was broken, um, and something that was supposed to have happened by now hasn't happened, where judgment has been called on the situation. It's almost like the divine wants to make it up to you. It's almost like okay, this is what we're gonna do. And so you have the opportunity to you have opportunities coming to you, but it's like the divine wants to use this time to speak to you, and that could come through any kind of signs, synchronicities, opportunities, insights. And so this is a time actually to really, really pay attention to that, because it's almost like your magic is being amplified right now. And as a result, it's like you're going to surprise yourself about what you can do, but you're also going to be surprised by the divine's presence. It's like things that you were so used to having to work hard for may get easy. Things coming your way that you hadn't considered, unexpected things, unexpected good fortune. Um, Maybe insights on what you're supposed to do, or how you're supposed to change things up in your home, or whatever the case may be. It's like it's almost like, okay, the divine is saying, okay, we've got this time, let's use it, let's get the most out of it. If your union does come together later on, we can make it so that you're in a much better place. When my throat goes like that, it's the throat chakra. So it's like clearing something out. So maybe your voice is really important. Rather than keeping certain things to yourself, you might be asked to speak out, whether that's in the work you do, or whether that's just in the conversations you have with people. So it could be that the way you speak about yourself and what you're going to do, it's like that's going to be empowering for you, but also almost like it's creating this energy and space around you. So when people are in it, they can really like feel your energy, and feel your sort of confidence in yourself, and your magic having come into play. So yeah, it feels like there's something maybe clearing in the throat chakra. There may also be things that need to be said, and maybe you can't say them to your counterpart, but you can say them to yourself. You can say them to God. You can say them to your neighbor or your friend or your family member that supports you. And so I think the way you vocalize, and also maybe even the way you think about the position you're in, is very important. Because if you're in this woe is me despair, then what are you going to manifest? What are you going to manifest? You're going to manifest more of what you don't want. Whereas if you can embrace this position of, okay, I'm not in my union yet, but I have this opportunity and I am going to take it, then that is what you're vocalizing. That is what you put your energy into. That is what you're weaving in with your magic. That is what you're focusing on with your intention and your prayers and your whatever modality you use for manifestation. And that is going to bring the divine in to support you. Obviously, action also needs to be taken, but this is like the sort of the magic aspect of it, the invocation. So so yeah, it's like your words are powerful right now, and your thoughts are powerful right now, and your attitude is very important, and your outlook is very important in terms of what it is you're actually going to call in during this time of separation. Um, so it's important to be aware of that. So this was the ninth position. So let's just see how that's to be interpreted. Harmonize. Where do you need to place your attention that will allow your light to shine brighter? Well, we just talked about that. So this will be your connection to the divine. Maybe like if you're having moments where your counterpart's heavily on your mind and it's difficult to be in the separation, it's difficult to have your boundaries up, that those are the moments where you shift your attention to the divine, and connect there, and shift your attention to the opportunity that you're being given right now. So yeah. So this is where the focus needs to be in order to make the best use of your energy in this situation. So now I'll go on to the other card that fell out. Two of Staves in reverse. Okay, so this is okay, so the Two of Wands or the Two of Staves, this can be a card about twin flames. So this is about it being hard to be in this separation, and that right now it feels like things aren't moving in a direction where the gap is being bridged. It may even feel the opposite, like there's a deeper separation going on right now. And so this is hard, but I'm thinking this is also maybe that certain energetic boundaries have maybe had to be put in place. It could be that the counterpart that is resisting is being energetically blocked right now. Whether you're assisting in that is another thing, but I'm getting the sense that what the divine wants me to say is that there is a situation where there's like an energetic timeout, and as a result, um, it's going to feel different, and you may miss them in a different way, because it's almost like you're missing them in two ways, because it's like you're missing the physical presence, but you're also having a much more reduced energetic presence with one another, and as a result there is like the second layer of missing them, which is why the refocusing on the divine is probably really important right now, because this is going to impact you in a different way. But also for the person who is resisting, they're feeling the energetic absence of you now, on top of the fact that you're not physically present. Now it could be your physical absence is something that on some level they want, because it's giving them the space to work out the things that they're doing, and to sort of reduces the pressure on them. But the energetic loss I'm feeling is weighing heavy, and it's part of the pressure that the universe is applying to them in order to get them unstuck. So this is putting you in a position, if you're the one who's waiting, where you're also having to go without that, and you're being asked to sort of participate in that energetic boundary, because it's like, if if you think of it in this way, if you ask someone to behave in a certain way because otherwise you get hurt, it's like in this situation, and they make an agreement to do that, and then they don't do it, and then you don't reinforce that boundary, you're basically telling them that actually it's okay, you'll get away with it. And on an energetic level, this is kind of what it is. I think in some cases, some of the runners have been wanting to take advantage of the energetic connection and get what they want from the connection that way, while still being able to have the space that they need, and then do spiritual bypassing and not actually do the work of actually coming back into union. And so now the divine is saying, no, you don't get that anymore, because you haven't stepped up yet, and we are now in that crunch time. So there has been a need for these energetic blocks, timeouts, and boundaries right now in some cases. Maybe this reflects in different ways depending on your circumstances, how like intertwined this person is with your life, how often you see them, in what circumstances. Maybe there's physical separation, you're not in the same area, in which case this would be more energetic. So that it may show up in slightly different ways, but it's indicating that in some level their access is being reduced because of the actions they're taking. And this is part of the karma. And this is part of the pressure to try and get them unstuck. It puts you, the waiter, in a difficult position because it kind of feels like you're being punished when you did the right thing, but you're just being asked to participate in it to sort of like not undermine the divine sort of boundary here, so that hopefully that will assist the process moving forward. I'm getting, for the time being. I think what Spirit's trying to say is this is not how it's going to be forever, but it may need to be this way for a little bit. So it's just preparing you for the fact that this may be possible. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to really focus on this opportunity. It allows you to really connect with the divine and put your attention there. So whenever you're feeling those moments where maybe they're trying to tug on your energy, or maybe you're missing them, that's where you put your focus, because that's where you need it. And it's okay to acknowledge the fact that you miss them, but to dwell on them and then to let this opportunity pass you by, that's what the divine's concerned about and wants you to take advantage of, and not let that be a missed opportunity for you. So yeah, is there anything further that wants to be said there before I check the position? No. Okay. So this was the 10th step. So let's see how that should be read. Enter your vortex. What areas in your life are coming into alignment? Okay. Interesting. So how do we read that in that situation? What is coming to alignment? Well, one way it can be read is the fact that it's almost like no matter what happens, there's a way forward, there is a divine plan, and that you're taken care of. Even in the highest parts of this separation, there is a positive highest timeline for you. Because if you're the one who's been waiting, you've been doing the work. And so you shouldn't be robbed of the opportunity of the fruits of that work just because your counterpart hasn't shown up or hasn't done the work themselves. So it's like you're coming into a place where you realize that it's okay. So I'm getting the word codependency again. So it's moving out of that sort of way of thinking about the relationship, because it is such an intertwined relationship that sometimes it can feel like it is very codependent, but actually it's giving you an opportunity to make sure that you don't lose yourself in this relationship, because the pull is so strong that it's easy for you to sort of go almost put up with anything because you want it so bad. And this is an opportunity for you to see that whether my counterpart is here or not, the divine is with me, and I am here, and I can get on with my life. And I am actually strong enough to stand in this energetic timeout, to participate in it, to hold a boundary against something that pulls on me so strongly, so that you actually realize your power, you know? And so no matter what happens, you're taken care of. There is a way forward because you have been showing up, you have been doing the work. And the divine sees that. It's not going to, that's not going to be unrewarded, no matter how this happens. And so it takes you into a place of peace, surrender, because you know no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And yes, there might be really difficult things that you have to traverse, but that doesn't mean there isn't a way out of it. There isn't a reason for it. And it's going to make you stronger no matter what. So as long as you can see it in that light and can use that as an opportunity for growth rather than an opportunity to crumble and to hide away from the world. As a long-term strategy, we all have those times where we just, it's too much, right? But yeah, so it's seeing the opportunity in the struggle and seeing what you're capable of, really seeing how powerful you are, how you can take any obstacle and any turn of events and to turn it into gold. So, wow. So on that note, I'm feeling like that is the reading. I just want to see if there's any additional messages on this tarot part before we draw the final card in this spread, which will be the Twin Flame Ascension Oracle. So is there any additional messages that you want me to share about this part of the reading? Okay, so the Ten of Wands was sticking out, and I got it's not going to be forever. It may be shorter than you think, but you're perfectly equipped to handle it. It may be hard. It may be requiring you to look at some difficult things and to honor your heart. But it's a necessary process, and actually you're going to come through it quicker than expected. And there may be moments that are harder than others. And so to have strategies for those times, like maybe late at night, for example, when you're not distracted by your work and all of that, maybe you're going to feel them pull on your energy. Maybe you're going to feel how much you're missing them and things like that. But those are times to have some strategies and to just have reminders, because it's very easy to sort of forget why we're holding up a boundary and why we feel so strongly about something when we get to a point where we're missing someone. So maybe to write down some affirmations of I'm holding my boundaries for this reason, or I'm being asked to do this by the divine for this reason, so that when you have those moments where it's hard, you have something to refer back to remind you why this is important right now. Just to help you get through those harder moments, because some moments will be easier than others, and because the divine is asking you to sort of like sort of hold the same boundary that they want to hold in place for your counterpart, so that you're not sort of undermining the sort of opportunity that's been given to them to get unstuck, and therefore delaying things. So if there are particular times, so it feels like, because the throat chakra just activated then, maybe you need to say it out loud to yourself. Maybe you need to have the conversations you want to have with them in an empty room. It won't be empty, the divine will be with you, but maybe you want to have that conversation. Like, what is it that you would want to say to them right now, about how you're feeling, so that you can actually process some of this grief, and maybe also show up when you next see them in a better place, so you're not like brimming with anger or grief or whatever the case may be. You've actually done some of the work to process it, so that you can actually show up with grace and still vocalize what you need to, but maybe not come from a raw wounded place, but more from a place of you've processed and integrated it. So maybe, as well as writing down maybe some affirmations, maybe just visualize the conversation you would like to have with your counterpart right now. What are the things, where did they hurt you? What are the things you want to say? What are the things that you need? And actually have that conversation. Let the divine take it to them. You don't have to connect to them energetically, telepathically to do it. But let the divine take that message to them and let their higher self integrate it in whatever way it needs to be. But for your sake, let something come through your voice, because your voice is actually important right now, particularly in this manifestation process. So if you can't have the conversation in person, have it with yourself, with the divine, and ask the divine and your higher self to take the message to them in whatever form they can take in right now. So So that might be an important part of the process of dealing with the harder times and the emotions that are coming up right now. Anything else? Okay, I was looking at the Two of Coins, and I got the decision's been made. But which decision are we talking about? Okay, to come. Okay, so in some cases, the decision has already been made to come forward to. I think that we had that with the Six of Swords or Six of Arrows. Um, it's just it's like a matter of time for some of these situations. I know that this message is going to be for a subset of the collective, but for those that this applies to, that this resonates with, it's like it's almost like the turning point has already happened, in a sense of the pressure got applied, and they know what needs to happen, they know what needs to be done, and they're preparing themselves for it. And I think the divine just wants you to know that the work has already begun in getting them unstuck. They still need to make the moves. They still need to get out of planning mode, and they still need to overcome their fears. But they're not avoiding looking at it. Is what it comes down to. They are aware of this. They are looking at it. The biggest obstacle for them is actually how do they move forward. They're honest where they're at and where you're at, but it also requires them looking at certain things in themselves that maybe they're not too proud of. So that work is being done, but it's like I want to clear my throat to prepare. So it's like they're like in that process of clearing their throat to prepare to come forward and speak. So it's like the divine wants to say there is hope in this situation, because there's a lot of flux. There's a lot of different ways this could pan out, but and I'm getting that with this. It's like lots of different ways that this could pan out, lots of different timelines, but there is this situation has worked, is what I'm getting. It's applied the pressure, and it's allowing a lot of counterparts to consider their actions and how they're going to move forward. There are some where they're still stuck. There's some that are further along than others, um, and there's some that will choose to continue to remain stuck, of course. But this reading is particularly for those who are making moves towards actually coming forward and resolving this, and seeing if it's still possible to resolve it. So there are some conversations being planned, and it may come through technology. Maybe someone's going to call you or text you at first, um, or through social media. Maybe it's like they want to test the waters a little bit first to see where you're at, to see whether you're approachable for a conversation, maybe to set up a conversation, maybe have it in person somewhere. Um, so I feel like there's maybe some stages that might lead to that. Maybe they just want to see how you are first, and then maybe ask for a deeper conversation later. But the wheels are in motion, plans are in motion. So it's like things are starting to move and shift. It's more a matter of how long it's going to take them. I think I'm being told a lot of the astrological energy has been playing into this. We have Mars retrograde that's going to shift and go direct on the 24th of February. So there has been a very deep introspective time for masculine energies since December. So when that shifts, we may find that supports those who haven't come forward yet. We have had a lot of other astrological energies, of Uranus and Venus and all of that, that have supported surprise conversations coming up. So some maybe you've already had these conversations start to manifest. But for those who haven't, it's like maybe the Mars energy is going to support once it goes direct, and is no longer in that reflective time, that retrograde time, that may support masculines who are stuck in coming forward. So particularly we've also, because we've got Venus in retrograde as well. So I think there's maybe been some energetics that have made it easier for certain masculines to stay stuck at this time, where it's harder for them to come forward. But as they shift, it may actually sort of have a slingshot effect and actually make it easier for them to come forward afterwards as they come out of this reflective time, and maybe look to some things that they've been avoiding looking at during this time. So they've needed that. So yeah. Anything else? Okay, so I very briefly looked at the King of Cups, and I heard a decision made for love. So it seems like vast majority of you, I can't say all of you, but there is I would say, a trend in the direction of choosing love over fear. Um, so that's also positive news. But I'm also getting that the grief that has come up needs to be addressed. So in these conversations that may start to happen, although you're being asked to be open to the opportunity of it still, although in some cases where there's been contract breaks, you're not obliged to continue doing that work, but you may still want to. But anyway, that's a side note. The heartache that has happened in the waiting period, in this time shift where things haven't worked out the way that were maybe ideally looking like they were going to go, this needs to be addressed. So your counterpart needs to know the consequence of their inaction, of their behaviors, maybe the words they've said to you, so that they know that this might have been very 12th hour of them to come back. This may have been like they're nipping in at the nick of time to resolve this before it's too late. And so it is important that if you're starting in that kind of position where maybe you were almost ready to move on, or you were starting to move on, and this conversation occurs, that you address the fact, what you've been through, how difficult it's been, why certain behaviors affected you the way that they did, so that they understand the consequences of their behaviors, and so that they know that it's so they don't take this for granted. It's so that they know that you know, because what I'm getting is that I think there are some counterparts that believe on some level, it might be a subconscious level, that because you are twin flames, it has to work out, and so you would put up with anything, and that is not the case. And so they need to see that there has been a price, there is a cost of, and that cost is that maybe now there's been trust that's broken. Maybe now you're more weary. Maybe you have more questions. Maybe you need to see, well, are you going to be able to communicate well in this relationship? Is there always going to be difficulty before you give me any attention? It's like there could be all kinds of questions that are now arising for you and making you wonder, is this actually going to work? Or how much harder is it actually going to be to make this work? And so that needs to be addressed. And maybe this has been an opportunity to see where there have been places where you're not as compatible, not in the sense of you're not that twin flame, but we come into this world with different personalities and traits. We have different experiences, and sometimes these harmonize really well, and other times they cause friction. And the friction gives us opportunity to grow and to learn and see things from different perspectives, even within twin flame connections, because you've come in to help one another with certain lessons. And sometimes in order to do that, you actually need to have a kind of very opposite approach on things. But in terms of how it's resulted in this disconnect, and this separation and this grief, those kind of things need to be looked at, so that as you move forward in relationship, you can actually find compromises and ways to work around it, and ways to understand how to sort of translate someone's behavior and not assume that it means that they don't care for you, or whatever the case may be, some way so that you can actually handle it in a healthier dynamic going forward. Because this is giving you the opportunity to see the places where it works and maybe it doesn't, where you have to put effort in to make it work. You know how there's sometimes people say you don't really know a person until you travel with them, for example. And so this is like a scenario like that where you're maybe seeing the shadow aspects, and some of this may heal as the relationship goes forward because you're giving one another space to do that. um, but there may just always be places where you're different, and you just have to know how to work with one another in that. And so this is an opportunity to look at those things as well, not just in terms of how it's sitting right now, but in the conversations that are to come, so that you can actually see about how you're going to handle those things in the future, rather than keeping it to yourself and sort of like hoping that that pattern doesn't repeat, because that may be creating the conditions for that pattern to repeat so that you address it. So this is an opportunity to actually support the pattern being healed in a sense. So it's very important in those conversations that you're honest about the cost and the toll that this has had on you during the separation, and when you've had these behaviors and these words said to you that hurt you. So that's a very important thing that needs to be addressed. Is there anything else? I feel like that is it for the tarot part. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to pull the final card now in the spread. We're going to do this one with the Twin Flame Ascension Oracle, and we're going to see what the final message in this spread is. Okay. Okay, so we get 4/4 trust, and it says ask, listen, allow. So for me, this is coming back to what I just said about those conversations, but it's like with this being a difficult time for those who are in the waiting phase, and grief has come up and has been hurt. We're being invited to still trust the process and trust the divine in this, and because 4/4 is about stability, and so it's like trusting that this can resolve in an outcome. And we talked about also with the magic card about how important it is with what you believe in, believing that it's still possible for you to have this deep epic love, and so even though things may look bleak right now, or maybe difficult, it's there's still this need to trust the process, that there's still ways forward. I'm not feeling like the door is completely closed. In fact, we can see the door is open. It's just that there are different ways of getting there now, and different opportunities along the way. And so ask, listen, allow. So what I'm feeling with this is two things. So when conversations do happen, so this is about that opportunity to talk about what happened, maybe ask questions of your counterpart to find out their side of the story, and to sort of like with allowing getting this sense of acceptance, accepting the situation as it is, but also listening to their side of the story, but also to allow this current phase to pan out, to not resist the fact that, okay, we've just now gone into maybe deeper separation, or whatever the case may be in terms of how you want to frame it, but to actually just trust and allow it to unfold. I'm also getting with the ask and the listen, this is about your connection with the divine. So if you have questions about why is it going this way, ask the divine for insight, or for confirmation or a sign or something like that. Ask and then look for it or listen for it, depending on the modality that applies to it. It's like so I'm getting the divine wants to answer your questions. So if you're sitting here, why is this happening to me? Then it's a time where you can ask the divine for that, and maybe you can get some kind of response in some way reflected in your external environment and with the things that happen, maybe with the opportunities that arrive, right? And the doors that get open for you. But let's see the 11th step. What is that? What is the 11th step? 11th step is mission accomplished. What will bring you joy, happiness, and inner peace? Okay. Trust. Because if you're not trusting the situation, how can you be at peace with it? But if you can be, okay, this is happening for a reason. I may not know why, but maybe I can ask and see if I can get some clarity on why this is happening in this particular way for me. But at the same time, even if you don't get any kind of obvious sign or response, that may be about building your trust with the divine. It's like, okay, you have to go in blind with this, but we're going to see, can you trust it? Can you still trust the situation? Because this is the trust, and therefore the belief and the faith is what's leading you through this, no matter what the outcome. Because the divine's got your back on this. Your counterpart is your preferred union. This is the person that the divine most wants you to come into union with, and therefore will do whatever the divine can to bring you there. Now there are limits. There are places where it's like there might be timeouts, there might be diversions, there might be detours. There may even, in this lifetime, it may not be possible, and so it has to come through in another lifetime. But reading isn't for those people, I can tell. This reading is for those who, it's like, so I'm getting where the counterpart is on the fence, but they're really close to moving towards love as opposed to away from it. So there is this need for trust, and to allow the situation to unfold as it's supposed to. And because things can shift because of free will and circumstances, to allow that and to check in and say, okay, so what's happening now? And see what, like if you're having a conversation with someone or you're watching a reading and something particularly resonates, to look into that and say, okay, well, maybe that is applying to my situation right now, but it's still a snapshot because things shift all the time. And so in the end run, it's very hard to actually get a definitive answer. This is definitely going to happen. This is not going to happen. It's definitely going to pan out its way. But to trust the fact that the divine is orchestrating in your favor at all moments, union happening, because that the union is for a reason. You came here for a reason. There is a mission that you're supposed to do together. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot fulfill mission in separation. You can. Your energies are still connected, no matter how far apart you are, no matter how involved you are in one another's lives, which is why you're getting this opportunity now. It's almost like the work that you're supposed to do with your counterpart, you're being asked to take that on. And so you're getting almost twice the glow up, because you're getting the glow up that your counterpart should have been getting at the same time as you. So, so there are always ways forward. And the whole purpose is to come back together. When and how is the details that are constantly shifting. But there is a reason why you're connected. There is a reason why you were brought here in this lifetime together, where you chose this path. And although there's free will involved, and although things can shift, that connection is there, and the divine is going to want to make the best use of that connection in whatever form that takes. Sometimes timeout's necessary. Sometimes block is necessary. Sometimes it's a back and forth. But it's all about, as long as there is options to get you to union, the divine is going to keep providing you ways to get there. Now, if the divine calls judgment on situation, or you reach a point where you are done, then that's different. That means that you are ready to close certain doors and go in a different direction. Then the divine is going to create a whole new path for you. But no matter what happens, no matter whether you reach union in this lifetime or not, you're always going to be connected. There is always going to be a time at some point where you're going to come back together. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of how. And it's just a matter of what is aligned for you during the process of getting there. And either way, you are divinely protected, you are divinely supported. And as long as you are open to union, God is going to find a way to get you there at some point. So, trust, regardless of how it seems on the outside, is one of the most important elements of this process. And trusting yourself, trusting your heart, trusting, like, when you know that right now you have to pull away for your own well-being, to trust that, because it's not easy being in separation. And if that's what you need to move forward in order for you to stay open to these opportunities and handle your heart and take care of your heart, then that's what you do. So you have to constantly navigate this and be true to yourself and what your heart is telling you, what your soul is telling you, what the divine is telling you. So as long as you're open to that, you're doing the work and you're moving forward as you should. And everything else is down to your counterpart and the divine and those around you who may play some role in facilitating this. So as long as you're doing what you need to do and taking care of yourself and checking in, seeing what feels aligned still, what doesn't, and moving forward, then the divine is going to work around that to support you in moving forward and to bring you to union, if that's a possibility that you are still open to and that they can become open to at some point. So, wow. I feel like that's what I want to say on that. So what I want to do, okay, I was going to pull one. This is the Healing Heart deck, but I just got told to pull two, one for you and one for your counterpart. So I'm just going to make a little space here. One sec. So I'll just put that there. Okay. So first of all, let's check in with you. Let's see where you are at. And by you, so I'm going to choose the person who's waiting, probably the Divine Feminine. So for those who are waiting for your counterpart, who are moving forward and doing the work, who are not resisting this, I just want to check in with your heart and see where you are right now. I do think this is predominantly Divine Feminines, but if you don't resonate with that, but you still feel you're in the waiting for your counterpart, then this is still for you. So what do we need to know? Where's your heart right now? What message does your heart have for you? Too many? Okay, big shift. Big shift for you. Okay, so I'm going to split the deck on this one. Oh, interesting. I haven't pulled this one before. Get knowing heart. So this says, heed your intuition. Okay. So your heart is asking to be listened to. your heart knows the way. The heart is going to navigate you through the situation. So whatever you've done to maybe like where you've been resisting, looking at where your heart is saying it's where it's not happy, where it's struggling, where it's had a difficult message for you. This is about, again, trusting your heart to lead the way through the situation. It's also going to be a vehicle through the divine to encourage you as well, but it's also the gateway to your soul. And so it's really your soul speaking to you. And just knowing that if you are tending to the wisdom of your heart, then you are on the right track. You're on your path, and you're doing the right thing for you, even if that puts your counterpart in a difficult position. So that you're not losing yourself in the connection and relationship. You're not disempowering yourself by putting up with things that actually hurt you, and not vocalizing them. It's very important, as we've seen, to vocalize these, whether you have to do that for yourself or whether you get the opportunity to do that with your counterpart. And I'm not going to put this down, but I'm just noticing grieving heart is underneath it. So again, that 3 of arrows energy. So if your heart is grieving right now, it's preparing you for any eventuality, but it's also it's almost like anything that you have been. I don't even want to say avoid. It's almost like you've been trying to regulate your heart and your emotions in order to handle the situation. And now your heart is always saying, no, I want an opportunity to actually express now, rather than trying to sort of think my way into another pattern that allows me to calm myself or whatever. It's like, no, I need to be heard. I need to speak my wisdom, even if it's just to yourself. And so it's, and yes, with the separation, with this separation, it's really hard. You may be grieving in the sense of you're grieving the connection that you have, the energetic exchange you have, and even though you may not be like, I'm completely done, you're aware of the fact that might be necessary, even if it's a case of, okay, my person is not ready for me now. I'm going to move forward with my life and trust that if we're supposed to be together, maybe an opportunity will come in the future. That might be the path for some of you. But for others, it may be that there's just a delay, sort of a detour right now. That was maybe not the ideal way of going, but it's the way it's turning out. And so there's a grieving of the fact that, I've waited so long and I've put up with so much. I tried to make this work every way I could think of. I gave everything I can and it's still not been enough. And so there may be all kinds of things that are coming up for your heart. So allow the wisdom for your heart, but also give yourself space to grieve. Whatever hurt didn't get a voice before, it's time to give it a voice. And some of it may pass through. Some of it may leave you to a point where you realize, unless XYZ happens, I'm done. I can't tolerate this behavior anymore. If I get a conversation, this is what I need to say, and all of that stuff coming up, right? And for some of you, you may just decide, I'm over this and I want to move forward in a different way. And that's your prerogative. That's what your heart is saying to you. But listen to your heart, because it knows the way forward. It knows also what you should and shouldn't tolerate in a situation. So, all right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a card for the one that's resisting, the runner, perhaps the masculine, the one that's going through this 10 of Wands right now, the pressure from the universe. So maybe the one who's been resisting the love or the connection, denying the connection. So we're going to pull a card for their heart. What message does their heart have for them at this time? Okay. Daring heart Well, that's interesting. Learn to lead from wisdom. Yeah, okay, so their heart is calling them to step up. That's what message they have. That to dare to take a risk. It's trying to give them courage. It's calling to them to accept that they're the ones that have to make the first move, that they have to correct any hurt that's been done, to sort of compensate for that. But mostly it's like, okay, so I'm getting that this is also tied into the Leo full moon that we had this week. That may be bolstering them to come forward. That may have like given them some energy or clarity or something that is allowing them to actually start to consider the fact that they could do this, that they need to do this. And so the heart is really calling them to step up. So, okay, and then my voice is going. They need to say something. They need to they need to get out of their head. They need to actually vocalize this. Vocalizing this is important. I think there's been a lot that's been unsaid, and it's now time for words to start to flow. This is actually going to be part of the heart healing as well, for it to actually be vocalized instead of being in this vague, unclear limbo of, do they feel this way, do they not, am I in my head about it, am I reading this wrong? The lack of clarity is causing a big issue, and because of that, words need to be spoken and need to come from the heart. So, and this is going to be very healing for both sides. I think this is part of the fear, actually, like putting words to it, because because I'm getting that commits them to how they feel. It's almost like with this king of cups up in reverse. It's almost like there is this fear of rejection, right? And so if they say something, they're putting a line in the sand, they're making it declarative, they're actually making it explicit and known, and therefore there's no way of backing out of that if it turns out they're rejected. And so there is this fear of actually putting words to it, because it's like it would be easier to show that it would be to speak about it, but the actual vocalizing of it is the medicine. It's like there's no way out of that. It has to be explicitly stated. Both parties need to know exactly where they stand, and for anything that needs to be made up for, that needs to be worked through as well as like expressing the hurt and the situations that have been involved in it playing out the way it has thus far. So the heart is really building up the courage, because the actual vocalization of what the heart is saying, what the heart feels, rather, it needs a voice. Their position needs a voice just as much as the position of the person who's been hurt waiting. So it's like they're daring to actually to put words to how they feel, which is what's going to take the King of Cups into the upright position. So, yeah. All right. Okay. So, I did have the Rose Oracle, but I'm not feeling like I'm being asked to call from it now. I think that is actually the reading. So I'm just gonna check and see if there's any final messages before we bring this reading to a close. So I'm being drawn to the two heart cards. We have knowing and daring. So the trust, which was in the middle, So trusting what you know is true. Trusting that if you dare to take action, it's going to work in your favor. It's actually the right move, even if it doesn't work in your favor. But it's like both of the knowing and the daring requires trust. It requires trust in the heart, what you're being called to do, your soul, the divine. And so, yeah, it comes back to the trust again. And once this communication happens, and once that's been laid bare, and you know where you stand, then that's going to validate the trust process. But and that may help in future scenarios. But there is a leap of faith needed here, particularly on the side of the one that has been avoiding making a move thus far. But yeah, anything more to say about that? Yeah, I'm getting clarity is coming. Anything else? Okay, so I got that there's going to be a switch. It's like the darer is going to know, and the knower is going to dare, and I want to know, like, dare to follow what they know. Yeah. So again, this feels like the parallels that twins have. That even if they're expressing in different ways, there is still a harmony, even in what feels disharmonious. And so, as long as you're following what feels aligned for you, what you're being called into, it's like it's going to keep reflecting back and forth in this beautiful dance that twins have. Yeah, I feel like there's maybe one more thing that wants to come through. Okay, I'm being called to the transformation card. Okay. Okay, so what I'm getting is that even though there's been some shifted timelines, this is going to lead to an even bigger transformation than was already planned. Like, if you can navigate through this successfully, it's like the result is even going to be better. And I'm not just talking about the union, I'm talking about what you're going to do together, how the outcome's going to happen. It may be good things start to happen even quicker. The way you connect. There is an opportunity had in this detour. Again, the divine is always going to try and line up the best and highest timeline for you, as long as you are willing to work to get there. And so what I'm basically being told is that the highest timelines that are becoming available are even more powerful and even more transformative, and with greater opportunity in them than the ones you had before. So even though this was not the plan, so to speak, the divine has said, okay, we have so many more options available. Now we've got an even bigger set of possibilities to play from, and we can create something even better out of the situation, even though it was maybe not the way it was looking like it was going to unfold. So again, trust that no matter which way it goes, there is always a higher timeline that's working in your favor. And the divine is there to support you to get there, as long as you are listening to your heart and daring to follow it. That feels like the end of the message right there. So I'm going to wrap this up now. It was a really, really powerful read. Really privileged to have brought that through, and I hope that some of this or all of this has helped you in some way. But I'm always really interested when I do this reading to hear what intuitive insights you have as well. When you saw the cards, what came up for you that I didn't mention? If there's something you feel strongly to share, I'd love to hear it in the comments, because it always gives me insights in my own readings. But together, obviously, we can build an even bigger reading out of it as well. So if something strongly came through to you, please do share them. So just to wrap up, I don't have much to share in terms of my offering. I know I talked last time about maybe I would have more to say at this point. Some things are shifting on my end, and until they fully settled, I don't want to sort of put a line in the sand in terms of where things are going, because it may be that the membership site is actually going to become less of a priority and something else is going to come in, but it's still working its way out. I'm still waiting on a particular situation to see which way it's going to pan out, but it feels like that may be put on hold or delayed a little bit. We're going to see how that goes, but I'll give a further update either in the newsletters I put out or in the next podcast, and I'll let you know that in a more definitive way, hopefully. But in the meantime, I would suggest that if you want to follow my work, that YouTube is really becoming the place where YouTube and Instagram are the places where the most work is going. But the great thing about YouTube, of course, is we can do these longer deep dive podcasts. So if you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to join us if that feels aligned, but only if it's aligned. And you want to make sure that you're up to date on further readings that come out, especially if this one resonated for you, because I will do more twin flame readings. But yeah, besides that, I just hope that this reading has helped in some way, has helped make navigating this easier and giving you some clarity. And I wish you all the well. I wish you all the best. Yeah, so keep shining, and I will be back in the next episode. Probably the 20th of March, but this is when I'm going to record. So around that time is probably when I will do the next one. It'll be the beginning of the next astrological year, so I'll be interested to see what kind of reading calls to me to focus on at that time. So this is the last one of this astrological year, and yeah, let's see what happens. But until then, take care. Bye.